What's up, guys? We're back with another comparison here. Today we got the S20 Ultra versus the V60. This was a very interesting comparison here. So if I'm in the market for an ultra flagship phone, which one will I pick? There are big trade-offs with both of these phones here. So starting off with the price, the V60 is going to trend cheaper, and again, these are prices for USA. V60 typically going for around 250 bucks, and then the S20 Ultra is a little bit more expensive, going for around 300 to 350 bucks. So let's go ahead and get started. Both these phones are glass and metal phones. They're both IP68 dust and water resistant. They're both very big flagship phones, as you guys can see here. So with the hardware, you will notice the V60 does have a headphone jack, and not just a regular headphone jack, a headphone jack with a quad DAC. So if you're a headphone jack lover, you need it. The V60 does have that. They both have SD card support as well too. Both really beautiful designs here. Be sure to let me know which design do you think looks better here. And yeah, so they're very big phones, you know, trade-offs there with the headphone jack. They both have SD card, and they both feel really nice in the hand. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the display quality on both of these phones. So the V60, it does have a 6.8-inch POLED display. It is HDR10 plus, 1080p 395 for the PPI. And the S20 Ultra, it is a 6.9-inch 120 hertz HDR10 plus display. It's 1440p 511 for the PPI, and of course that's the dynamic AMOLED display. Basically, just off raw specs, the S20 Ultra does have a better display. It's sharper, it's 1440p, and also it's got slimmer bezels as well too, if you guys can tell there. It has the punch hole instead of the V60's water drop notch. It's overall just aged better. Samsung has always pretty much been the king of making smartphone displays. So I think the design is just better on the S20 Ultra, and the specs are just better. And guys, the V60 does have a trick up its sleeve with the display. So you can actually get a dual screen case. They're typically going on eBay for like 100 bucks, probably cheaper now these days. And yeah, you can basically turn it into two phones, so it can become a ultimate multitasking device if you want it to be. So I think that's a pretty big trade-off. So anybody that's really into multitasking, you will really like the V60 for sure. Even gaming and stuff like that, you can take advantage of the dual display. It just comes down to that. The S20 Ultra does have an advantage with the refresh rate. It is a high refresh rate display, so it's 120 hertz versus the 60 hertz display. Now the V60, it is a very smooth 60 hertz phone, but you'll definitely be able to tell the 120 hertz the difference there. So that also could be a pro for you. So it really comes down to, do you want a dual screen case, or do you like the 120 hertz and the better screen design? Let's talk about these specs a little bit more. Both of these phones have the Snapdragon 865 chip on here, and let's start off with the S20 Ultra. It's got the 865 micro SD card support, 128 gigs of internal storage, and 12 gigs of RAM on base model. The V60, it has micro SD card support, 128 gigs and 8 gigs on the base model. Basically, you're getting the same exact speed with both of these devices here. Pretty much performance wise, they pretty much feel the same when launching applications and stuff like that. So do a little quick speed test here. V60 got in there. And software wise, both these phones will get Android 13. So the LG did promise that for the V60, so we'll be looking out for that. The S20 Ultra, I believe the update is rolling out for that one as well too. But you can see speed wise, they're pretty much on par with each other, guys. Like I said, you won't really tell a difference with speed unless you pay attention to scrolling. Scrolling just feels smoother on the S20 Ultra. But like I said, this is a pretty smooth 60 hertz display on the V60, so it's very impressive actually. Yeah, so guys, speed wise, very, very fast on both of these phones. Now here's the interesting thing with both of these phones here. So the S20 Ultra is really well optimized to play games actually, and if you guys saw, I compared it to the S22 Ultra. This is able to play 90 frames on PUBG. So I absolutely love that, man. I don't have a ton of phones that can play 90 frames on PUBG that I personally own, so this is one of them. I think I have a few others, but it's always rare to see that. My 7 Pro plays PUBG at 90 frames as well too. So I wonder how that goes. Like, do they pick certain phones, or I wonder if somebody can tell me. Alright, you guys can see on the S20 Ultra, we do have that 90 frames. And like I said, this is a phenomenal gaming phone. I'm going to drop a full gaming test just to show you guys, see what other settings we get in some other popular games. But yeah, this thing is buttery smooth when playing games. Very impressive. And like I said, the V60 does a really great job. Now, it doesn't have the 90 frames option, but you can, like, you know, you don't have that 90 frames, but you can play at HDR Extreme. But you have that dual screen case functionality as well too. So, you know, that's also another trade-off, like, you know, if you're a gamer or whatever. Like, so, you know, these two phones do a phenomenal job when it comes to the gaming experience. Same chip, so they stay relatively cool. Snapdragon 865, one of my favorite chips, just because it's able to stay cool while doing, you know, pretty intense tasks. So I do really like it. As far as the software experience goes, I think Samsung's software experience is just better. Simply because there's just so much more useful stuff in the settings. As far as Samsung desktop support is on here, secure folders and stuff like that. There's just a ton of little small software features and that Samsung has in One UI that I've really grown to love over the time. LG's not really that too much going on with the software, but like I said, it's very clean. I like it as well too. The Android 12 update on here did a really good job at making everything really clean and pretty fast. Alright guys, here's the video on the LG V60. SNC 2X. Here's our 0.5. Alright guys, here's the video on the S20 Ultra. Zoom in a little bit. Let me know how the mic sounds. Alright guys, we got the speakers at max volume. Let's go ahead and check out speaker quality. Yeah, so the V60 does have a slightly better speaker. It is slight, but you can notice harder bass, and it is slightly just, in general, just louder than the S20 Ultra. Very close, but I would give it to the V60 there in terms of speaker quality. They both actually have a really good haptic engine, so you know your vibration and stuff is going to feel pretty solid. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the fingerprint scanner. So this is some, you know, this is an area, the biometrics is where the S20 Ultra just has pretty much the advantage. Not only is the fingerprint scanner faster to me, but also you can do face unlock. You cannot do face unlock on the V60, and the fingerprint scanner is not as fast. It is, you know, a little bit better than it used to be before the update, but definitely not as fast as the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner. Because this one you don't have to apply that much pressure. The V60 you actually have to apply pressure for it to be able to, you know, actually register. So yeah, I do like that better on the S20 Ultra. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the cameras. So this is a pretty big thing, and you guys let me know, because I thought, you know, I'll just let you guys see the side by side stills. Let me know, which phone did you think took better shots? 108 megapixel standard on the S20, 48 megapixel telephoto lens, 4x, and then you also have a 10x hybrid zoom, and it goes all the way up to 50x. You also have a 12 megapixel ultra wide 0.3 depth sensor, 8K video, 8K 24, and then 40 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 60. The V60 does have a 64 megapixel standard, 13 megapixel ultra wide, 0.3 depth sensor. It shoots in 8K 30, and then you also have a 10 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K 30. So let me know, which shots did you guys prefer? All right, so let's talk about the battery life on these two phones. I actually been having slightly better battery life on the V60. Not only does the V60 battery life to me is just a little bit better, but it actually does have extremely good standby time, and I mean really good standby time. The S20 Ultra is pretty good, and it does pretty good with standby time, better than a lot of the newer Galaxy phones. But the battery life is just not as good as the V60, so I think the V60 has an edge. Even though they both have 5,000 milliamp battery, I'm thinking it might be simply because I have 120 hertz on here. I'm not really sure why. Like I said, they're not too far off from each other. They both easily get around 6 hours of screen on time, but I think the V60 will get better screen on time for sure. Now, you do have way better charging speeds on the S20 Ultra. It charges at 45 watts, which is nice, and you have the reverse wireless charging, which you're missing reverse wireless charging on the V60. It does have wireless charging though. Yeah, so that's sort of a trade-off there too. So basically, two awesome flagship phones, guys. Be sure to let me know which phone did you guys prefer, and I will catch you guys in the next one.